The Empire had ruled the stars for 3,000 years. They had conquered 17 star systems. They had destroyed armies that numbered in the millions. They had broken species that thought themselves unbreakable. In all that time, no one had ever told them no. Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. He was old, even by standards. His scales had turned from bright green to a dull gray. His eyes, once sharp and hungry, now held the tired confidence of someone who had seen too many easy victories. "Show me this planet again," he said. The holographic display flickered to life. A small blue world appeared, spinning slowly in the darkness. It was beautiful, admitted. The oceans were a deep blue. The land was green and brown. White clouds swirled across its surface like paint on canvas. "They call it Earth," his science officer said. "Population approximately 8 billion. Technology level is primitive. No energy shields, no orbital weapons platforms, no faster-than-light capability." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. 8 billion. That is a lot of workers for our mines. "Yes, Admiral. Initial scans suggest they would be excellent laborers, strong bodies, high endurance, surprisingly intelligent for such a young species." "What do they call themselves?" "Humans, Admiral." Nodded slowly. He had heard that word before. Scouts had reported encountering human traders on the edges of explored space. They seemed friendly enough, weak, soft, easy prey. "Send the standard message," ordered. "Tell them we are coming. Tell them resistance is useless. Tell them their world now belongs to the Empire." The message was sent. 3 days later, they received a response. It was not what expected. A human female appeared on the screen. She had black hair pulled back from her face. Her skin was pale. Her eyes were dark and calm. She wore a simple gray suit, and she stood alone on what appeared to be a landing platform in the middle of a vast city. "My name is," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "I speak for the people of Earth. We have received your message. We understand your intentions." Leaned forward. This was unusual. Most species begged. Some threatened. A few tried to negotiate. But this human simply stated facts. "We welcome peaceful contact," continued. "Earth has much to offer, and we are curious about the wider galaxy. Trade, knowledge, friendship. These things interest us." She paused. Her expression did not change. "But we must give you a warning. It is very important that you listen carefully." Felt something strange. A small tickle at the base of his skull. Something his people had not felt in generations. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was doubt. "The Empire may claim our seas," said. "You may claim our skis. You may claim our orbit. We will not stop you. But hear this clearly, Admiral. Hear this and understand it." She stepped forward, and for a moment it seemed like she was looking directly at him. "The moment your soldiers set foot on our land with hostile intent, they will die. All of them. Every single one. This is not a threat. This is not a boast. This is a simple fact like gravity or the speed of light. If you invade our land, you will not leave alive. Not one soldier. Not one officer. Not one." The message ended. Sat in silence for a long moment. Around him, his officers shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke. Finally, his second-in-command, a younger named, broke the silence. "Should we be concerned, Admiral?" Stood slowly. He walked to the viewing window and looked out at the stars. In the distance, barely visible, was the small blue dot called Earth. Concerned. He made the grinding sound that passed for laughter among his people. About a species that has not even left their own star system. About creatures made of soft flesh and brittle bone. About a world with no defenses we can detect. He turned back to his officers. "I have fought species that breathed fire. I have conquered worlds where the very air was poison. I have broken armies of machines that felt no fear and never tired. What could these humans possibly do to us?" No one answered. "Prepare the invasion fleet," ordered. We will teach these humans what happens when someone defies the Empire." Far below, on the surface of Earth, walked back inside the building. Waiting for her was a room full of people, military commanders, scientists, government officials from a dozen nations. They all looked at her with the same question in their eyes. "Did they listen?" asked General. He was an old soldier, his hair gray and his face lined with scars. He had spent his entire life preparing for a war he hoped would never come. Shook her head. "No, they did not listen. They never do." A heavy silence fell over the room. "Then we proceed with the plan," said Doctor. She was younger than most of the others, but her eyes held an intelligence that made people uncomfortable. She had designed most of Earth's hidden defenses. "Everything is ready. The cities are prepared. The soldiers are in position. The network is active." "How long until they arrive?" someone asked. 3 days, replied, "maybe 4." General nodded slowly. He walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, an alien fleet was preparing to invade his world. They thought it would be easy. They thought humans were weak. They were wrong. "You know," he said quietly, "my grandfather fought in a war. My father fought in a war. I fought in 3 wars. My entire life I wondered if all that fighting was worth anything. All that blood, all that death, all that pain." He turned back to the room. "Now I know. Every war we ever fought was practice. Every battle was a lesson. Every victory and every defeat taught us something. We learned how to fight in cities. We learned how to fight in mountains. We learned how to fight in jungles and deserts and frozen wastelands. We learned how to turn every piece of our world into a weapon." He smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "The Empire thinks they are predators. They think we are prey. They do not understand what they are walking into." Nodded. "We warned them. That is all we could do." "Yes," General agreed. "We warned them. Now we will show them." Outside, the sun was setting over the city. 20 million people went about their lives. They ate dinner with their families. They watched shows on their screens. They laughed and argued and loved and worried about small things. They did not know that aliens were coming. But they did not need to know. Because while they lived their ordinary lives, an entire world was preparing to fight. Hidden beneath cities and mountains and oceans, humanity's true strength waited in silence. The Empire had conquered 17 star systems. Earth would be their 18th attempt. It would also be their last. The invasion began on a Tuesday morning. Was 19 years old. He had been a soldier for 8 months, and in all that time, he had never fired a weapon at anyone. He spent most of his days complaining about the food, missing his mother's cooking, and wondering why he had not tried harder to avoid military service. When the alarm sounded, he was half asleep in his bed. The sound was loud and sharp, like nothing he had ever heard before. He sat up quickly, his heart beating fast. "What is happening?" he asked the empty room. His answer came from Sergeant. She burst through the door, already dressed in full combat gear. She was 32 years old, and she had been a soldier for 14 years. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. "Get up," she said. "Get dressed, get your weapon, we have visitors." "Visitors?" "Aliens, Private, the ones we have been training for. They are landing near." Felt his stomach drop. Everyone knew about the message from space. Everyone knew that aliens were coming. But somehow it had never felt real. It was like a story, something that happened in movies, not in real life. Now it was real. 20 minutes later, stood with his unit on the outskirts of the city. There were 40 of them, all young men and women who had never seen real combat. They looked scared. Was scared too. But Sergeant was not scared. She stood at the front of the group, checking her rifle. It was not the standard weapon they had trained with. This one was different. It hummed with an energy did not understand. "Listen carefully," she said. "Today you will see things that will frighten you. You will see aliens. Real aliens. They are big. They are strong. They have weapons that can burn through metal, but they are not invincible. They bleed, they die, they make mistakes. She looked at each of them in turn. Our job is simple. We do not fight them in the open. We do not charge at them like heroes in stories. We wait. We hide. We let them come to us. And when they are in the kill zone, we destroy them. "What is the kill zone?" someone asked. Smiled, it was not a friendly smile. Everything. The entire city is a kill zone. Every building, every street, every alley. They think they are invading our world. They do not understand that our world is a weapon. In the sky above, the ships descended through the clouds. There were 50 of them, each one carrying 200 soldiers, 10,000 warriors in total, veterans of dozens of planetary conquests. Commander Vex watched the city grow larger through his viewing screen. He had led ground invasions on 7 different worlds. He had never lost. "No defensive fire," his lieutenant reported. "No energy shields, no visible military presence. They are not even trying to stop us." "As expected," Vex replied. "These primitives know they cannot win. They are probably hiding in their buildings, hoping we will show mercy." He did not plan to show mercy. The Empire had ordered total subjugation. Every human would be either a worker or dead. There was no other option. "Begin landing sequence," Vex ordered. "Standard formation. Secure the port first, then move into the city." The ships touched down on the empty streets near the harbor. Hatches opened and soldiers poured out, their weapons ready. They were tall, nearly 3 meters each. Their scales were thick and hard. Their eyes glowed with a faint red light. They expected resistance. They found none. The streets were empty. The buildings were dark. The only sound was the wind blowing through the abandoned city. "Something is wrong," Vex muttered. "Sorry." "Where are the humans? 8 billion people on this planet, and not one of them is here to fight us." Before his lieutenant could answer, the world exploded. The first drone came from a window on the 3rd floor of a building. It was small, no bigger than a human fist. It moved fast, faster than eyes could track. It hit a soldier in the chest and detonated. The explosion was enormous. 3 soldiers were killed instantly. 5 more were wounded. Then more drones came. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. They poured out of buildings, out of the ground, out of the water. They swarmed the formation like angry insects. Soldiers fired their weapons wildly, but the drones were too small, too fast. For every one they destroyed, 10 more appeared. "Fall back," Vex screamed. "Fall back to the ships." But there was no falling back. The streets themselves had become death traps. Holes opened in the ground, swallowing soldiers whole. Buildings collapsed, crushing those who tried to take cover. Gas erupted from broken pipes, choking those who survived. And then the humans appeared. They came from everywhere, from rooftops, from tunnels, from places that had not existed on any scan. They moved through the chaos like shadows, striking and vanishing before they could react. Watched from his position behind a wall, his hands were shaking. His rifle was heavy. He had not fired a single shot, and he did not know if he could. Then he saw Sergeant. She moved with a grace he had never seen before. Her rifle fired again and again, each shot finding its target. A soldier fell, then another, then another. Her face showed no emotion. Her hands did not shake. She was a machine built for one purpose and one purpose only. "Private," she shouted, "cover fire now." Raised his rifle. His finger found the trigger. He aimed at a soldier who was running toward their position. He fired. The shot hit the alien in the chest. The soldier stumbled, then fell. Blue blood spread across the ground. Stared, he had killed someone. He had actually killed someone. "Good shot," yelled, "keep firing." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 3,000 soldiers were dead. The survivors tried to retreat to their ships but found them disabled. Somehow, the humans had scrambled their navigation systems. The ships were useless. Commander Vex was captured alive. He was brought before a human officer, a woman named. She was small, barely reaching his chest, but her eyes held something he recognized. "Victory! You will tell us everything," she said calmly. "How many more ships are coming, what weapons they carry, what their weaknesses are." "I will tell you nothing," Vex snarled. Nodded. "We expected you to say that. It does not matter. You will talk eventually. Everyone talks." She turned and walked away. "Wait," Vex called after her. How did you do this? We had 10,000 soldiers. You are primitives." Stopped. She looked back at him with something that might have been pity. "We warned you," she said. "We told you not to set foot on our land. You did not listen. Now 3,000 of your people are dead and you have achieved nothing." "This is not over," Vex growled. "The Empire will send more soldiers, millions of them. You cannot win." Smiled. It was the same sad smile that Ambassador had worn. "Perhaps," she said, "but we have been fighting wars for 10,000 years. We have killed hundreds of millions of our own kind. We have turned our entire world into a fortress. How many soldiers do you think you will need to conquer us?" She did not wait for an answer. In orbit, Admiral received the news in silence. 3,000 soldiers dead. Commander Vex captured. The landing force destroyed. It was impossible. It should have been impossible. But it had happened. "Send more soldiers," he ordered. His voice was cold. "Send 50,000, send them everywhere. These humans cannot defend their entire world." He was wrong, but he would not learn that lesson for some time yet. On the ground, sat against a wall, staring at his hands. They were still shaking. He had killed someone today. He had watched 3,000 aliens die. Sergeant sat down beside him. "First kill?" she asked. He nodded. "It gets easier," she said, "and harder both at the same time." "How do you do it?" he asked. "How do you stay so calm?" Was quiet for a long moment. "Because this is what we do," she finally said. "This is what humans have always done. We fight, we survive, we protect our home. It is not pretty, it is not noble, but it is necessary." She put a hand on his shoulder. "You did well today, Private. Remember that. Whatever else happens, remember that you did well." Above them, the stars were coming out. Somewhere up there, an alien fleet was preparing to attack again. More soldiers were coming. More battles were coming. More death was coming. But Earth was ready. Earth had always been ready. Admiral had not slept in 3 days. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the blue planet below. His scales had lost their shine. His eyes were red with exhaustion. For the first time in 300 years of military service, he did not know what to do. "The Council is demanding answers," his second-in-command said quietly. "They want to know why 10,000 soldiers failed to capture a single city on a primitive world." "I know what they want," growled. "I also know what they will suggest. Orbital bombardment, glass the planet from space, turn their cities to ash." "Would that not solve our problem?" Turn to look at him. "The Galactic Council has rules about destroying planets. A dead world gives us nothing. No workers, no resources, no value. If I destroy Earth, I will be executed for waste." "Then what do we do?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his shoulders and made his decision. "We send more soldiers, 50,000 this time. We spread them across their entire planet. They cannot defend everywhere at once. We will find their weaknesses and exploit them." Nodded slowly. "And if 50,000 is not enough?" "Then we send more, and more, and more, until they break." The second invasion began 3 days later. Ships descended on 6 continents simultaneously. They landed in forests and deserts, on mountains and beaches. They expected resistance. They expected the humans to be stretched thin, unable to defend so many locations at once. They were wrong. In the mountains of Provence, Lieutenant led a guerrilla unit of 40 soldiers. They had been waiting for 3 days, hidden in tunnels carved deep into the rock. When the battalion landed in the valley below, she did not attack immediately. She waited. "They are setting up a base camp," her scout reported. "About 2,000 soldiers, heavy weapons, standard formation." "Good," said. "Let them get comfortable. Let them think they are safe." For 2 days, they believed they had found an undefended region. They sent reports to Admiral about their easy landing. They began constructing fortifications. They relaxed. On the 3rd day, the mountains came alive. It started with small things. Soldiers disappeared on patrol. Equipment malfunctioned. Water supplies were contaminated. The blamed local wildlife, bad luck, equipment failure. They did not understand what was really happening. Then gave the order. Explosives buried in the cliff faces detonated simultaneously. Thousands of tons of rock crashed down on the camp. Soldiers who survived the avalanche ran for cover, only to fall into pit traps hidden beneath the snow. Those who made it to the trees found themselves in kill zones, where human snipers waited with perfect patience. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 1,800 soldiers were dead, had lost 2 people. "Send a message to command," she told her radio operator. "Tell them the mountain is secure. Tell them we are ready for more." On the other side of the world, the story was similar. Commander had turned the waters around island into a graveyard. His ships were small and fast, nothing like the massive cruisers. But they did not need to be big. They only needed to be smart. "They cannot handle our electromagnetic pulses," he explained to his officers. "Their shields are designed for energy weapons, not targeted disruption. When we hit them with the pulse, their systems go dark for approximately 40 seconds. That is enough time for our torpedoes to find them. And if they adapt," smiled, "then we adapt faster. That is what humans do." The naval battle lasted 3 days. They sent 30 ships. Only 4 escaped. Commander lost 1 boat and 7 sailors. But it was in Seoul that the true message was delivered. Doctor had spent 20 years preparing for this day. She was not a soldier. She had never fired a weapon in her life. But she understood something that they did not. In the modern age, a city was not just buildings and streets. It was a network, a system, a living thing that could be controlled. "They are entering the Eastern District," her assistant reported. "Approximately 5,000 soldiers." Nodded. She sat at a console surrounded by dozens of screens. Each screen showed a different part of the city. Each showed soldiers marching through empty streets, searching for enemies that were not there. "Let them reach the central plaza," she said. "Let them think they have one." They advanced cautiously. They had learned from the disaster they checked buildings before entering. They scanned for drones. They moved in tight formations, covering each other. It did not matter. When 5,000 soldiers stood in the central plaza, pressed a button. The city woke up. Doors that had stood open slammed shut, trapping soldiers inside buildings. Floors that had seemed solid collapsed, dropping soldiers into underground chambers filled with gas. Traffic lights changed in patterns that created confusion, directing soldiers into dead ends where automated weapons waited. A captain named watched in horror as his unit was torn apart. He had fought on 12 different worlds. He had never seen anything like this. "The buildings," he screamed into his communicator. "The buildings are attacking us. The ground is attacking us. The whole city is alive." He tried to run, but a door sealed in front of him. He tried to break through a window, but the glass was stronger than anything he had ever encountered. He turned, looking for another way out, and found himself facing a human woman. She was small. She wore no armor. She carried no visible weapon, but she looked at him with eyes that held no fear. "You should not have come here," she said quietly. "What are you people?" demanded. "What kind of monsters are you?" The woman considered the question. "We are not monsters," she said. "We are just humans. We have spent 10,000 years learning how to kill each other. We have built weapons that can destroy cities. We have created poisons that can kill millions. We have turned our entire planet into a fortress, and we have done it to ourselves." She stepped closer to him. "You think you are conquerors, you think you are predators, but you do not understand what you are dealing with. We are not prey. We are the most dangerous species our planet has ever produced, and you came to our home, our ground, our territory." Tried to raise his weapon. Before he could, something hit him from behind, and everything went dark. Admiral received the reports in silence. 30,000 soldiers dead across 6 continents, minimal human casualties, cities that fought back on their own, mountains that swallowed armies whole, oceans that destroyed fleets. It was impossible. All of it was impossible. Admiral said carefully, "Perhaps we should consider withdrawal." Did not respond. He was staring at his hands. They were shaking. He had not noticed them shaking before. "Admiral," Hal whispered, "how can they be doing this? They are primitives. They have no shields, no energy weapons, no fleet. How are they defeating us?" "Their planet," said slowly. "It is different. They have turned everything into a weapon. Not just their soldiers, everything, their cities, their mountains, their oceans. Their entire world fights with them." Looked up at the blue planet below. It seemed so peaceful from up here, so beautiful, so harmless. But it was not harmless. It was the most dangerous place in the known galaxy. "Order a full retreat," he said finally. "Pull all forces back to orbit. We need to rethink our strategy." As ships rose from the surface of Earth, the humans watched them go. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They simply watched, their faces grim and tired. Because they knew the truth. This was not over. The Empire would return. They would bring more soldiers, more weapons, more ships. The war had only just begun. But for now, for this moment, they had won. They had done what no other species in the galaxy had ever done. They had repelled the Empire. And they had only lost 43 people doing it. General stood on a rooftop in Seoul, watching the alien ships disappear into the clouds. Beside him stood Doctor and Lieutenant, 2 of the architects of their impossible victory. "They will be back," he said. "Yes," agreed. "They will, and when they return, we will be ready." "How many more can we kill before they stop coming?" Answered that question. "As many as it takes. That is what we do. That is what humans have always done." Above them, the stars were coming out, cold and distant. Somewhere out there, an empire was learning a lesson that no one had ever taught them before. Some worlds are not meant to be conquered. Some species are not meant to be prey. And some warnings should never, ever be ignored. The news traveled across the galaxy like fire. On 1,000 different worlds in 1,000 different languages, the story was the same. The mighty empire, conquerors of 17 star systems, had been beaten by a single primitive planet. 50,000 soldiers sent, 40,000 dead. The survivors fled back to orbit, broken and afraid. At first, no one believed it. The species of insect-like beings who had been conquered 2 centuries ago thought it was propaganda. "Impossible," their queen declared. "They are invincible. This is a trick to find rebels." A race of ancient beings who existed partly in dimensions humans could not see were more curious. "Interesting," their elder council mused. "We must learn more about these humans." The Psyarchs, warrior poets who had fought for 50 years before surrendering, felt something they had not felt in generations: hope. "If one world can resist," their leader whispered to his closest advisors, "perhaps others can too." But all of them, believers and doubters alike, wanted to know more. They wanted to see these humans who had done the impossible. They did not have to wait long. Delegate stood in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. She was 42 years old, a diplomat who had spent her entire career preparing for a moment like this. Around her, Holographic images of 10,000 different species watched in silence. Some were giants, towering masses of muscle and bone. Some were tiny, no larger than a human fingernail. Some had no physical form at all, existing only as patterns of energy. All of them were watching her. "Thank you for this opportunity to speak," began. Her voice was calm and clear, amplified across frequencies that every species could understand. "I represent Earth, a small world on the outer edge of the galaxy. Until recently, we were unknown to most of you. We preferred it that way." She paused, letting her words settle. 3 weeks ago, the Empire invaded our planet. They sent 50,000 soldiers to conquer us. They expected us to surrender. They expected us to become workers in their mines and servants in their homes. They expected us to be weak. Behind her, images began to play, footage from the battles, soldiers falling by the thousands, cities transforming into death traps, mountains swallowing armies, oceans destroying fleets. They were wrong. The chamber was completely silent. Even species who had no concept of surprise seemed shocked by what they were seeing. "We are not aggressive," continued. "Earth has no interest in conquest or expansion. We have never attacked another world. We have never threatened another species. We ask only to be left in peace." She stepped forward, and her expression hardened. "But understand this clearly. Our species has been at war with itself for our entire existence. We have spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other. We have created weapons that can destroy entire cities in seconds. We have developed poisons that can kill millions in hours. We have built armies that number in the billions. Every city you see in these images was built on battlefields. Every nation on our world has been forged in blood." The images behind her changed. Now they showed Earth's history, ancient warriors fighting with swords and spears, medieval armies clashing on muddy fields, trenches filled with soldiers in gray uniforms, mushroom clouds rising over burning cities, soldiers in modern gear clearing buildings room by room. "This is what we do," said. "This is what we have always done. We fight on our ground and we win. Not because we are superior, not because we have better technology, because this is our nature, because we are the most dangerous species our planet has ever produced." She let the images speak for themselves for a moment. Then she continued. "The Empire invaded with 50,000 soldiers and left with 10,000. We lost 43 people. 43. Not because we are better fighters, because we have spent preparing for exactly this kind of war. Because every human alive carries the knowledge of 1,000 battles in their blood." She looked directly at the holographic image of the representative. He was a young officer who had been sent in place of admiral. He looked pale. He looked afraid. "So here is Earth's message to the galaxy," said. "Trade with us. Talk with us. Visit us as friends and you will find us welcoming. We have art and music and stories to share. We have knowledge and technology we are happy to trade. We want to be part of the galactic community. We want peace." Her voice hardened. "But if any power at all, sets foot on our world with weapons raised, you will join thee in learning why humanity has never been conquered. Not by disease, not by nature, not by each other, and certainly not by you." She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "We warned the Empire. They did not listen. We are warning you now. Do not make us show you again." The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the representatives of 1,000 different species began to react. Some murmured among themselves. Some sent urgent messages back to their. Some simply stared at the small human woman who had just threatened the entire galaxy and somehow made it sound reasonable. The Sciarch's leader spoke first. His voice was rough, translated through a dozen languages before reaching human ears. "Your species fought each other for 10,000 years. "Yes," said. "And you survived. More than survived, we thrived. We built cities and nations. We created art and science. We reached the stars, all while fighting wars that killed millions. The Cyrex leader made a sound that might have been a laugh. No wonder they failed. They have never fought a species that enjoys fighting as much as they do. We do not enjoy fighting, corrected. We hate it. Every war in our history has been a tragedy, but we are very, very good at it. And we will not stop being good at it just because others find it inconvenient. The elder spoke next, his voice like wind through ancient trees. You said you want peace. Is this true? Completely true. We have enough wars in our history. We do not need more. But we will not allow ourselves to be conquered. If that means fighting the entire galaxy, so be it. You cannot fight the entire galaxy. Not it, perhaps not, but we can make it very, very expensive to fight us. How many soldiers are you willing to lose to conquer one small planet? 1 million? 10 million? 100 million? Because that is what it will cost. We will make you pay for every meter of ground. We will turn every city into a graveyard. We will never stop fighting, never stop resisting until every last human is dead. She paused. Is any planet worth that price? The chamber fell silent again. No one had an answer. Finally, the council leader, an ancient being whose species had founded the council 5,000 years ago, spoke. Your words are bold, delicate, perhaps too bold, but you have earned the right to speak them. The Empire has formally withdrawn its claim to your world. Earth is recognized as an independent planet, protected by its own defenses. Bowed slightly, thank you. But know this, the galaxy will be watching you now. Your species has proven itself capable of great violence. We will want to see that you are also capable of peace. You will, promised. We want nothing more than to live in peace with our neighbors, but we will not sacrifice our freedom for it. Not now, not ever. She turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, 10,000 species watched in silence. On Earth, the broadcast was seen by billions. In homes and offices, in cities and villages, people watched their representative address the galaxy. They saw the images of their world's defenses. They heard the warnings she delivered. And for the first time since the invasion began, they felt something other than fear. They felt pride. In Seoul, General watched the broadcast from his office. When it was over, he turned to the people gathered around him. Lieutenant, doctor, sergeant, and a dozen others who had helped defend their world. Well done, he said quietly. All of you, well done. It is not over, reminded him. They might come back, others might try their luck. Let them try, replied. We will be ready. Will we always be at war? Young asked. He had been brought to the meeting as a representative of the ordinary soldiers who had fought in the battles. He still looked young, still looked scared. But there was something harder in his eyes now, something that had not been there before. Consider the question carefully before answering. I hope not, he said finally. I hope that one day we will live in a galaxy where no one wants to conquer anyone else. But until that day comes, we will do what we have always done. We will protect our home. We will fight for our freedom. We will survive. He looked out the window at the city below. 20 million people going about their lives, living, loving, building, creating. That is what humans do, he said. That is what we have always done, and that is what we will always do. Above them, the stars shone cold and distant, but they did not seem quite so threatening anymore. Earth had announced itself to the galaxy, and the galaxy had listened. 3 years had passed since the invasion. The galaxy was a different place now. The Empire, once the most feared power in known space, had collapsed. It happened slowly at first, then all at once. Word of their defeat on Earth had spread to their conquered worlds. Species that had bowed to them for centuries suddenly remembered what resistance looked like. The Cyrex were the first to rise. Their warriors, inspired by humanity's example, attacked a garrison and destroyed it completely. Within a month, their entire system was free. Within a year, 3 more species had followed their example. Admiral did not live to see the end of his empire. He was executed by his own government, a symbol of their failure. His last words, according to those who witnessed his death, were simple: "We should have listened. They warned us. We should have listened." On Earth, life continued much as it had before the invasion. Cities were rebuilt, farms were replanted, children went to school, parents went to work. The world turned as it always had, indifferent to the fears and ambitions of the galaxy. But some things had changed. In a small city in the southern part of Korea, a man named Minyu ran a restaurant. It was nothing special, just a small place with a few tables and a kitchen in the back. His grandmother still made the kimchi by hand, the same way her mother had taught her, and her mother before that. "You put too much salt," she scolded him as he helped prepare the evening meal. "The kimchi will be ruined." "Yes, grandmother," Minyu said patiently. He had heard this complaint 1,000 times. He would hear it 1,000 more. "Young people today do not understand tradition," continued. "Everything is fast, fast, fast. No patience, no respect." "Yes, grandmother." The door opened, and an unusual customer entered. He was tall, very tall. His skin was covered in dull gray scales. His eyes glowed with a faint red light. He wore simple clothing, nothing like the armor Minyu had seen in the news broadcasts 3 years ago. He stopped her scolding and stared. Minyu felt his heart beat faster, but he did not reach for a weapon. He did not call for help. He simply stood there waiting. "I am sorry to disturb you," the said. His Korean was heavily accented but understandable. "I was told this restaurant serves good food. Is that true?" Minyu glanced at his grandmother. She was still staring, her mouth slightly open. "It is true," Minyu said carefully. "Please sit down." The sat at the counter. He was too big for the chair and he looked uncomfortable, but he did not complain. "My name is," he said. "I was a soldier in the invasion. I surrendered during the Battle of Seoul." Minyu nodded slowly. "I remember those days. I was we prepared for an attack that never came." "You were lucky," said. "The battles in Seoul were difficult." "I saw the footage." Was quiet for a moment, then he spoke again. "I have been on your world for 3 years now. I was a prisoner at first. Then they offered me a choice. Return to my people or stay here. I chose to stay." "Why?" Looked at him with those strange red eyes. "Because I saw what your people can do, and I also saw what you chose not to do." "I do not understand." "After we retreated," explained, "your people could have pursued us. You had the capability. Your weapons, your technology, they were more advanced than we realized. You could have destroyed our ships in orbit. You could have followed us back to you could have done to us what we tried to do to you." He paused. "But you did not. You let us go. You fought only to defend yourselves, never to conquer. I have served the Empire my entire life. I have never seen a species show mercy to its enemies, not once, until your people." Minyu was quiet for a long moment. Then he walked to the kitchen and began preparing food. "What would you like to eat?" he asked. Blinked in surprise. "You are going to serve me, after everything my people did." "You are a customer," Minyu said simply. "You came for food, I will give you food. That is what I do." He set a bowl of stew in front of them. It was his grandmother's recipe, passed down through 5 generations. Beef and vegetables in a rich broth, served with rice and kimchi on the side. Stared at the bowl. Then he picked up the spoon awkwardly and tasted the stew. His eyes widened. "This is good," he said, sounding surprised. "This is very good." "Of course it is good," said sharply, finally finding her voice. "I have been making this stew for 60 years. It should be good." Looked at the old woman. She was tiny compared to him, barely reaching his elbow, but she stared at him with eyes that held no fear, only judgment. "Your salt balance is excellent," said carefully. Nodded, apparently satisfied. At least someone appreciates proper cooking. She returned to her work, muttering about young people who did not understand tradition. Minyu watched the exchange with something like wonder. 3 years ago, this alien's people had tried to conquer the world. Now he was sitting in a restaurant, eating stew, and being scolded by an old woman about salt. The galaxy was a strange place. "Your people confuse me," said, still eating. "You are capable of such violence, I saw it myself. Your soldiers fight like demons. Your cities are death traps. Your entire world is a weapon. And yet here you are serving me food and asking nothing in return." Minyu considered this for a moment. "We are not a simple species," he finally said. "We contain contradictions. We can be violent and peaceful, cruel and kind, selfish and generous. We have fought terrible wars and we have created beautiful art. We have destroyed civilizations and we have built new ones on their ashes." He set down another dish, a plate of fried vegetables. "My grandfather fought in a war," Minyu continued. "My father protested against wars. I just want to cook food and live a quiet life. We are all different, but we all share one thing in common." "What is that?" "We protect our home. Whatever else we disagree about, whatever else divides us, that is the one thing we all agree on. Our home is sacred. Our land is sacred. Anyone who threatens it becomes our enemy, and we will fight our enemies until we cannot fight anymore." Nodded slowly. "I understand now. The Empire thought you were weak because you did not have starships or energy shields. We did not understand that your strength was not in your technology. It was in your people, in your spirit." "Perhaps," Minyu agreed. "Or perhaps we are just too stubborn to know when we are beaten." He smiled slightly. "My grandmother says that is the Korean way. Never give up. Never surrender. Fight until you win or die trying." Finished his stew and set down his spoon. "Thank you for the meal, and thank you for talking to me. Most humans avoid me." "Most humans did not serve in the war," Minyu said. "They are afraid of what they saw on the broadcasts. I was afraid too at first, but fear fades. Life continues. We learn to live with our former enemies." He paused. "Besides, you came here for food. How could I refuse a hungry customer?" Stood and paid for his meal. As he walked to the door, he stopped and turned back. "You know," he said, "when I first landed on your world, I thought we would conquer it in a week. I thought your people would bow to us like every other species we had encountered. I was wrong. I was so very wrong." "Yes," Minyu agreed, "you were. Your species is going to change the galaxy. You know that, right? Already, other worlds are looking to you for example. They are learning that resistance is possible. They are remembering how to fight. That is not our intention." "Perhaps not, but it is happening anyway. The Empire is gone. Others will fill the void. And they will all remember what happened here. They will all remember that one small planet, one primitive species, stood against the greatest military power in the galaxy and won." He opened the door. "The galaxy will never be the same, because of you." And then he was gone. Minyu stood in silence for a long moment. Then he began cleaning the counter, preparing for the next customer. Behind him, his grandmother continued making kimchi, the same way she had made it every day for 60 years. Outside, the sun was setting over. Children were playing in the streets. Vendors were calling out their wares. Somewhere, a grandmother was scolding her grandchild for running too fast. Life continued, as it always had. Earth turned as it always had. And far across the galaxy, in the navigation systems of every civilization, a simple warning had been added to the charts. Earth species, human. Status, avoid ground engagement. Threat level, extinction class. Note, they warned US. We should have LISTNED. The warning would remain there for 1,000 years. And no one would ever ignore it again.